Welcome to Book Talks, the show that speaks to education, health, entrepreneurship, and so much more.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Book Talks, the podcast that builds, amplify, and connect. Kalina Kenalisiba Matapo, and I am not alone. I'm with Mr. Joseph Maraba. So today we are going to talk all about electricity. Mr. Joseph, welcome to the podcast. May you please introduce yourself and tell us why.
Joseph Maraba, I'm from the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and now it's called the Department of Electricity and Energy. Okay. Today we'll be talking about the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act, which was signed by the President on the 16th August 2024.
Okay. Now, can you please provide a brief overview of the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act and its main objective?
The Electricity Regulation Amendment Act amends the existing Electricity Regulation Act of 2006.
Okay.
It came into effect around 2006, 1 August, and provided a national framework in terms of the electricity supply industry in South Africa. It further established the National Energy Regulator of South Africa as the custodian and enforcer of the National Electricity Regulatory Framework. It sets out the powers and the roles in licensing electricity generation, transmission, distribution, import and export, and as well as trading activities.
Okay. So what prompted the need to amend the existing Electricity Regulations Act?
What prompted the amendment? It started in 1998 with the Energy White Paper, which then outlined the need to reform the electricity supply industry in South Africa. And in that paper, one of the recommendations was to say, given the demand and supply in the coming few years, and the need to reposition the industry, there will be a need for ESCOM to be divided into 3 entities, which is transmission, generation, and distribution. It also provided that there should be competition in that setup going forth, and it also placed an onus to say there is a need for a reform. That paper gives a government position and justification of opening up a competitive environment in the electricity supply industry.
All right. So what key changes have been introduced in the amendment, and how do they differ from the previous act?
Well, in terms of the changes, I think there are new insertions in terms of, let me maybe put it this way, in terms of the 2006, 2006 did not talk about anything that has to do with the competition. So the new Section 34 in the Amendment Act provides for that competition, now giving effect to the 2008 White Paper and also the ESCOM roadmap, which is one of the fundamental drivers or rationale for some of the amendments, because in the 2019 ESCOM roadmap, there was an exercise that was done to say ESCOM is no more fit for purpose. There's to be reposition of ESCOM, and that paper documents everything that has to do with ESCOM issues, challenges, but in the same time, in that paper, there's a section where it makes new recommendations in terms of what ESCOM needs to do. And it also provides that it must be divided into 3 entities, and then generation, transmission, and distribution. In that, it also provides that the first step will be to create the transmission system operator. That is the first notable amendments. And the second one is offenses and penalties, which, as we all know, electricity infrastructure vandalism, cable theft. So those challenges are being addressed in the Act in terms of now introducing harsher penalties. Those who still cables or vandalize electricity infrastructure, you'll be fined between 0 and 1 million rand or 5 years imprisonment or both. Those who buy the cables or any other component that is electricity infrastructure related, as a company or as a vendor, you'll be fined between 5 million, 0 to 5 million, and 10 years imprisonment or both.
Okay. So, in what ways will this amendment impact the supply and the distribution of electricity in South Africa?
It then provides that there should be new ways or new industry that will be born in terms of this amendment. It will improve the efficiency of it. It will also introduce new players in the space.
Okay.
It will also talk to energy security. What is important, I think the overall is to make sure that there's energy security in South Africa, and then this is the first notable, reform that talks to energy security. At the same time, you want to use these amendments or this reform to attract investment into the sector and also provide a platform where now energy security and load shedding are the issues of the past.
Yes, definitely. Okay. So, what implications does this act have for independent power producers and the involvement of the private sector in the electricity generation?
It just opens an opportunity for them. In a sense that going forward, actually not going forward, it's already happening. Currently, if you've got your own generation, irrespective of the threshold or the capacity that we have, you don't need a license. The 2006 said you must say no one can generate, transmit, distribute, import and export or trade without a license.
Okay.
And then in terms of the generation space, Schedule 2 of the same act, the recent amendments, remove that threshold or that requirement to hold a license. So me and you, if we have the money and invest in a generation plant, we can do that and then probably feed back to the grid or sell it to another customer in a bilateral format.
And then how will the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act affect ordinary citizens and their access to electricity?
Well, the impact there is that with the competition being there, prices, it is assumed prices will be more affordable, and it also places the onus on the regulator to always safeguard the behavior of that market or trading platform, that prices are not obsolete, that our people can afford. So I think in that space you are saying, well, what is presumed is to say prices will drop, which is now the current challenges in terms of the electricity price.
Okay. Are there specific provisions for the Act aimed at ensuring electricity affordability and reliability for consumers?
Yeah, I think the regulator still plays a critical role in terms of the oversight and the approval of tariffs and prices, especially in the regulated space. So the regulator, which is NERSA, will always be there to provide that certainty that prices are the approval of prices and tariffs is done in the best interest of consumers.
Oh, okay. And then how does the amendment seek to enhance the affordability and reliability of electricity for South African households?
If you have the money, you can invest in your own PV system.
Okay.
Then you can generate your own electricity for own consumption, and later on you can sell the surplus that you have. So you just open the space where now access to electricity is about affordability. If you can afford a 2-panel in your rooftop, then you've got that electricity. You have secured your own supply, but it also opens an opportunity for you. If you've got surplus, you can sell it to whoever you wants that.
Well, how does that happen? How do you sell the surplus electricity?
Well, there is a process that you need to follow. If you generate in your own house, then there's a supply. There are some current work that is being done to allow for individuals or companies to sell back their surplus into the grid. Then the grid, which still belongs to ESCOM, you can sell it to municipality or ESCOM, any distributor actually. So those are the new developments that are coming in. I think other distributors have already done it. Cape Town is a typical example.
Okay.
if you feed at a certain rate, you get a certain price for what you're feeding or what you have not used for your own consumption.
Oh, okay. So, in what ways will the electricity regulations amendment contribute to addressing South Africa's energy crisis? So, yeah.
It's clear we're securing energy security at the bigger scale, attracting new investment into the sector. So the issues of accessibility and issues of high prices, this is what we are trying to address in the near future. When the market trading platform comes, we'll be talking about market prices. We won't be talking about a regulated price.
Okay.
So then you'll have a choice as a customer who you want to be supplied by or where you want to buy.
And then, what economic impacts are expected from the Act on businesses and industries that rely heavily on electricity?
Actually, it has opened other opportunities for them. They're doing their own generation also. They've secured, their own access to electricity, but at the same time, it's that opportunity of saying, if I'm a heavy user and I've got supplies, I can still sell.
You can still sell that.
And now I'm given an opportunity to generate my own electricity for my own consumption. So the impact is that energy security is secured and the business will continue to operate without disruptions. And then also is a business opportunity to sell back. I think that's the direction most of them they're doing. They're investing in their own PV plants, in their own setups, and then that surplus that is left, they want to sell it to the grid.
But then there is this public view that they are trying to privatize ESCOM. So with this act, and then how does that now quell those public misconception of that public ESCOM is trying to be privatized?
I think I'm glad you asked that question. I think even when we were doing our public consultation, was the first question people said to us. They were not asking, they were telling us that you are privatizing ESCOM. But if you look at the ESCOM roadmap 2019, everything that's in the Act gives effect to an ESCOM roadmap in a transfer of electricity supply. So ESCOM will still play a bigger role. The TSO is still an ESCOM-owned company within ESCOM Holding. So there's no way ESCOM is being privatized. Is that there will be players that will be interacting or interfacing with ESCOM. ESCOM provides generation, transmission, distribution in the space.
Yes.
But now you've got, in terms of in the generation space, you've got a situation where now generation is no more regulated as it is. So people are now generating their own electricity. So ESCOM will still play a bigger role. ESCOM is not being privatized in any way. There's no weight or any provision that talks about privatization. It just talks that there will be private players. Me and you, we can play in this space.
We can play in the space.
But the platform still belongs to ESCOM. It's an ESCOM platform. Even the trading and competitive platform that we are talking about, for now, in the next 5 years, it's still an ESCOM process, or it will be an ESCOM hosted process. So there's no privatization.
But I also have this other question about in terms of those who are using their own, solar systems to generate electricity. Also, there has been a probably a say, that people who uses a solar system or who are trying to go off grid will pay levies towards.
Well, it will happen. Remember, before this green energy was supplied by ESCOM, and then ESCOM invested in infrastructure to bring electricity to where you are.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the first. Let's start it there, where you are. Now you've got the power to invest in your own. Then the next question, what must happen to that ESCOM infrastructure? But from that point of view, it's a question of you're going off grid, and then already they were dedicated and money spent to bring infrastructure to you. Yeah. Then what must happen to the cost?
But it's a win-win situation for government, for ESCOM, because me going off grid, then it would mean that I'm offloading some of I'm actually offloading ESCOM in a way, so that they can now take that power and give it to somebody else who needs it more than I need it as a person who is now going off grid.
It's a win-win situation. You can put it that way.
But then you shouldn't be charging the one who's going off grid.
All we were saying that
Yeah.
the infrastructure
Yeah.
was brought for you to
Yeah.
have access to it.
Okay.
Now that infrastructure needs to be redirected. Who must pay for that?
No, ESCOM has to pay for that because of they are the one who are redirecting it to the person who needs it more.
But before redirecting it was for you. So those charges are just to recover the capital cost they spent on those things.
Probably, yeah.
But that one is a conversation that is a dialogue that will happen. I mean, yeah, it's a win-win situation.
Of course.
But I don't believe that people are whoever say they are ready to go off grid.
When I suppose they were. I mean, we come from a period of a severe load shedding.
Yeah.
So obviously, the narrative had changed at the time that can ASCOM really afford, or do they have the capacity? So now it's a different story because now it seems like the ASCOM now is managing and all this. Yeah.
I think let's look at it this way. Before load shedding, none of us were talking about going off grid.
Of course, because
The rationale was because of load shedding.
yeah, because of we never thought or no ESCOM. It's like driving a car. You buy a car, you drive it. You never think of that car will now break down. When it breaks down, and then you have to think of an alternative. Do I go back to a public transport, or do I buy another car?
But because it is broken down,
Yeah.
you don't go and buy a new car. You fix it.
Okay.
I'm
Now-
just saying, if we were to
fair
take-
point. Yeah.
you're going
Point
for it.
taken.
And then even when you buy, there's a maintenance plan that is attached to that.
Okay.
It has to go for after certain kilometers, you must take it for service. But let's say you don't take it for service. You can't blame the person who sold you the car. That you didn't tell me.
Oh, fair point. Fair point. So how does the amendment how does the amendment support South Africa's transition towards renewable energy and sustainability goals?
It promotes use of generation of any type of technology that is green. So me and you, now we are allowed to go and generate our own, and then it's not prescriptive in terms of only these technologies can do it. Say go and generate whatever you want to generate for your own use, and most of the current generation plants are most on the green technology.
Okay.
So it has just enabled that environment and it accelerated the uptake of these renewables. I think if you look at what we have done in terms of Schedule 2 of the same Act, immediately removing that threshold or that requirement for a license, I think the presidency has a study or a report in terms of how much investment was attracted by just removing that threshold and that requirement. And all those projects are green projects.
Okay. So with the emergence of EV, electric vehicles.
Yes.
So you think that this amendment does support that transition towards that?
Well, I think electric cars, I think the question is what electric cars need is just electricity to move around. But then there's more in terms of that value chain. Where do you charge? The charging stations and everything. So with this, it's just to say, if we secure the energy part of it, it will be easy for this value chain just to be plugged in, because then we're not dealing with any shortage of electricity. I think the concept before, when it was load shedding, was then does then load shedding stop the uptake of EVs in South Africa? If you, from a practical point of view, it will be yes. If I'm being load shed more than 4 or 5 hours a day, and I've got an electric vehicle, the usage of it then becomes questionable. But then if we sort out the energy part of it, where electricity now is stable, and then we don't have issues of that, automatically people start buying into this concept of electric vehicles. I think people are just cautious because of load shedding.
No, definitely, yes. I'm one of them.
And then also it's not only impacting electricity. I think even your transport infrastructure. Remember, these are charging stations that your petroleum, so like your petrol station, not all of them had that business plan in mind when most of the rollout happened,
Yeah.
Only now, then you need to say, where do you position these charging stations? You can't just leave it anywhere. I mean, we are dealing with the issue of vandalism. Tomorrow you put it there, you won't find it there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think transport and, energy is where that transition will start happening. Where if you are secured in terms of energy, transport then will have to see how we enable that in terms of the charging stations. Can you roll them with your petroleum stations along across the country, or they need a specific destination for them?
Okay. So, are there any particular provisions within the Act that encourage investment in renewable energy sources?
Not a direct, but I think there is a promotion of renewables in all aspects in terms of the Act. I think the Act must not be read as an energy transition, as an energy reform in terms of the regulatory framework part of it. In terms of renewable energy, I think the Act has never stopped renewable energy, or they never specify what type of energy. Is that we are using more of coal. But if you read the Act, if I'm an investor and I want to do my wind or solar plant, I'm allowed. The Act says I'm allowed. I don't need a license. The question, where do I take that? The question, where do I take it? Do I have a designated buyer who wants that direct renewable energy direct? Then the Act says no. If there's such a need, then how best can we do it? Because I think we need to make sense of in terms of investment is there already. I think we have an IPP program that is running. Those are most renewable energy projects. But then they're designated within a confined program, and then the buyer is still ESCOM. But we can do a bilateral. Me and you are a mine, I'm a private investor, I do my wind farm, you want that energy, we use ESCOM infrastructure to deliver that energy to you, and then we have a bilateral.
So, what are the key timelines for implementing the Electricity Regulations Amendment Act?
The Act provides for a 5-year transition period, starting on the day the effective date of implementation. The President has signed it, but has not issued an effective date of implementation of the Act. So once that is done, then we start counting 5 years going forward.
Also, the only timelines begin when the President issued that date?
Yes. For now, he just signed it, but he will pronounce on the effective date of it. Then that's when the 5-year transition period starts.
Okay. So what challenges are anticipated in the implementation process, and how are they being addressed?
Well, I think challenges, because we are moving to an era where we are talking about competition. None of us know what will be the prices there, but then there is a market code which is currently being developed in order to safeguard the implementation of this competitive environment. So that market code is a code that says that you can do this, you can do this. These are the qualifying criteria for you to participate in those. If you are a market participant, if you want to go to that space where you trade in electricity, that code will be there to deal with all the challenges in terms of implementation. What other challenges? I think because we are transitioning, we are going to learn new things. We're going to learn new ways of doing things because it's a transition. We have never done it before, of introducing a market in a space of electricity. We're used to a monopoly, which is ESCOM doing everything.
Yes.
Now imagine we've got new players. ESCOM needs to now interface with different players at different levels. So we'll be learning new lessons there.
So in essence, are you saying that this has not been rolled out on a small scale to see if it actually works or not?
Well, ESCOM has been doing trading within their own. They do have software, they do have systems to do in their own. Now, once you broaden that scope and invite more private players at a national scale, remember this will be at a national scale.
You are rolling it out on a national scale,
yes, then
without having rolled it out at a regional level also.
No, I mean regionally, the SAP is there. The South African power pool is there as part of a mimicking of the kind of a market where you're interacting with your neighboring countries. It's been there, it's been done.
Okay.
But now it's at a national level where it includes me and you as if we qualify to be market participant. But in terms of a fully fledged market, I think there's a journey that we'll all have to see and how it unfolds. There are international examples where things in paper they make sense, but in practice, prices don't come as you thought, or no one is ready for that market. But then if this fails, the minister is still empowered to make other interventions. So if this fails, the Act provides that the minister has the power to intervene.
So then what measures is the government taking to ensure the public is informed about the changes introduced by the Electricity Regulations Amendment Act?
Well, currently, I think there's a plan to, after the market code, they're actually been having a market code series of workshops where industry was interacting with the market code in terms of to understand what is the ins and outs of that market. In terms of what really affects or what will be the interest of society in it, it's something that as a department we need to work in terms of packaging the right message. And not everything in the Act is for me and you. So the question is it's our customers or as society we are customers to an ESCOM. The question will be, am I comfortable in not being supplied by ESCOM? The Act says we've got a choice to say who can supply me. Now the question as a customer, am I comfortable being supplied by someone that I don't know? And then what will be the price of that? So such conversations, it needs to be packaged in a way it's like an information sharing to say, if you're not a market participant, you'll still be using the same system supplied by your municipality or ESCOM at a regulated price. So the regulator will still be there to have a price that is regulated, what we me and you play now for municipality and ESCOM. Those who want to take that risk and go to a market, they'll get a market price. So there is a measure that differentiates between market participants and just normal customers, where the regulator has the right to approve a price and a tariff that me and you we pay for. But if we want to market, we wait for a market price.
So now I would like to know who then regulates the electricity tariffs that are supplied by the municipalities, because obviously they differ from the tariffs that are supplied directly by ESCO.
Well, municipalities take their tariff, they benchmark with what ESCOM gets from an annual increase, and then they add whatever charges they must add. So the benchmark is always what the regulator approves for ESCOM, but all distributors make an application to NERSA, and then NERSA sit down and go through a public consultation with that proposal and then approve a certain percentage of increase. So that part is still there.
All right. But I just want to put it out there. The electricity tariffs that are supplied by the municipalities.
It's because then I think maybe we need to go interrogate it further in another conversation to say what informs you of the final price that you pay. Because I think there is information that we can use and have a dialogue about what informs the final price that me and you buy. But usually the benchmark starts with what the regulator approves for ESCOM. Municipality will look at that and put there whatever charges they want to put. Okay, qualifying charges that they must put and send it through the regulator. And then the regulator applies their mind in terms of what percentage.
Now, is this act also going to, deal with such issues of electricity tariff regulations?
It still empowers the NERSA to continue doing that. The 2006 still empowered NERSA to do that. So that process is still there. The two things that are different with approving a price and a tariff is that NERSA won't approve a price that is in the market. Remember, the market is what you put forward, what I put forward, who's the lowest, they take that. So in terms of if you are not part of the market, NERSA will still approve prices and tariff for a regulated market.
Okay. Now, how can citizens and businesses engage or benefit from the opportunities created by this act?
Well, business has gone forth. I mean, business is running. They look at themselves as part of the value chain now. We invest in a particular or a size of a plant in our own corners, and then that surplus we put it out for, it's like for sale. Okay. Then for me and you is to say, I think we need to say, given the segments of our country and the landscape, how many people will be, can do this? It will take some few education in terms of people understanding a difference between a market and a regulated price. That in a market, tomorrow someone can come and sell their power at this price. Will you buy it, or you'll prefer a fixed price for a specific time? So those opportunities are, as a consumer, I'm allowed to choose who can supply me at what price.
Right. Now that's quite interesting, because now if I am a consumer who's being supplied electricity by Eskom, and now there's a surplus from a private producer of electricity. Now, can I then purchase electricity from a private supplier while I'm using the Eskom grid?
Yes, then Eskom will charge you for using their grid. Remember the Eskom grid. It's not you and your business partner did not invest.
So I buy electricity from Eskom, ne?
No, you buy it from someone who's sitting. Let's make an example. I'm sitting in, let's say, in Mamelodi.
Yes.
And you are sitting here.
Yes.
You don't own the wires. I don't own the wires.
Yeah, true.
But I own my PV. So go engage Eskom that during these specific hours or during this period, the power that I supply, it will be bought by Mr. X. Eskom says, I don't have a problem with that. I own the wires, the infrastructure to convey that what you produce the supplies to what line. I don't have a problem with that. This is the charge I'll charge you for using my wires.
So is Eskom charging the provider or the consumer?
That is a PPA question. Your agreement between me and you, your price that I'll buy it from you must take into account the charges.
Okay.
Yes. Eskom will come and say, for you to use my wires, this is how much I'll charge.
Okay.
And then you as a producer, you must filter that charges into your final prices.
Okay. All right. Now, where can individuals find more information or resources regarding the Electricity Regulation Amendment Act and its implications?
I think now we're working, internally as a department, we're working to package a series of information sharing sessions, and probably we'll advocate for a booklet to summarize the whole act, maybe in just 2-page, and then have it published in the website or have it as a soft copy. If someone walks in and wants to know, can just have it. But it's something that I think our communication guys are working on in terms of packaging something for the department, especially on this Amendment Act.
So, in a sense, that information will also be available for
anyone,
general citizens
if
they want to
go
read,
to the website.
go through that.
Probably there'll be a drop down where you can just click Electricity Amendment Act, and then it tells you the dates, what is happening, where we are, what are other things. Remember, this act also makes other processes, it triggers other processes like a market code. It's already something that is been happening is there. It will be fully published once it has reached the regulator. If you go to the regulator website, also it will be there. And then also probably they'll package it to simplify it. What is its purpose or objectives about the market code?
All right, thank you. Now that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.